Hello folks, Sinow here, and we are back again to discuss more news about Lost Ark. Things have been pretty quiet when it comes to Lost Ark and its release in the West lately, and a lot of people are getting pretty antsy and throwing out some crazy theories as to why this might be. And I want to talk about this today a little bit and discuss my opinions as to why this is. But before we get into that discussion, first of all, I want to talk about something that is a little bit more happy, good news, and that is Lost Ark's popularity in other regions such as South Korea and Japan and why that might be. So I want to show you guys some information that I found in my obsessive searching for information about Lost Ark and show you all how the game is doing in other territories and why this might be, and then later we will discuss why things have been so quiet for us and my opinions about that. So one article that I found here is by the Korea Herald, and it is about Smilegate's success in South Korea and why that is, and it's by somebody called Yang Sunjin. Apologies for my terribly butchered pronunciation there probably. And it says that Smilegate's Lost Ark rewrites rules of online PC game market. Lost Ark enjoys a resurgent boom as the most popular RPG title in South Korea as players seek a haven from scandal-laden titles. God, salacious. The article states that Lost Ark, developed by Smilegate, has emerged as the most popular title in the role-playing PC game category in South Korea. A surprising performance given its rise to the top slot took some time and benefited from a host of external factors. It launched in November 2018, and as with other mainstream games, it pulled off a stellar record when it formally kicked off its service, drawing a record 350,000 concurrent users. That's really big. Over time, its popularity declined as fickle players migrated to other games. Fickle players, wow, harsh. It's kind of harsh. Forcing Smilegate to reduce the number of servers. If Lost Ark followed the conventional cycle, it would be time for Smilegate's top managers to decide whether to keep investing in the game. So I'm sure a lot of you have had experiences of online games that kind of get a big boom in popularity at the beginning, and they make a lot of box sales, for example, of people buying the game to get access to it. And then people play through it, maybe with MMOs they realize there's not a lot of an end game, or the game is a bit more shallow than they thought, it's kind of a short-lived joy. And the managers decide that they've already cashed out on this and they just completely drop it. They're just like, right, that's it. We've made our money from this. There's not much point in continuing to support this, and it's beginning to decline in popularity, so we're going to get rid of it. However, Lost Ark has bucked the typical cycle in dramatic fashion and is now enjoying a resurgent boom, attracting not only newbies but also veteran video game streamers. On August 13th, Smilegate said the number of concurrent users surpassed 240,000 shortly after it had a new character update. So I believe this is probably the Sorceress, which you saw me react to in a trailer previously on the channel. Other metrics, including new and returning players, also soared, while the number of active users hit the milestone of 1 million. So this is really, really nice to hear, and I've had this happen in a couple of other online games that I play occasionally. And it, Final Fantasy XIV and Rainbow Six Siege are two examples I can think of the top of my head, of games that have had a really bad start, or maybe it's not been as popular, or they really needed to work on the game, and rather than just abandoning it and going to a new project, they stuck their heels firmly in the ground and they were like, no, we're going to make this better. We're going to revamp this game. So for instance, Lost Ark has entered what is called a Season 2, where they have revamped a lot of the systems in the game, and apparently it just is a lot better now from what I've heard. Season 1 was maybe a bit more rough around the edges, so it's really cool to hear that when it comes to Smilegate's Lost Ark, they're in this for the long haul, right? It looks like they're kind of passionate about their game and they don't want to just cash out on it, which honestly it gives me a lot of hope for the future of Lost Ark. Another key factor behind the game's popularity, and I know that this is kind of a big ambiguous point for a lot of people, and it's kind of a fear that a lot of us have about Lost Ark, is existence of pay-to-win elements. Apparently another key factor for the game's popularity is a relatively soft approach to this. A growing number of local gamers are tired of injecting huge amounts of money on a regular basis to stay competitive in major mobile and PC games, especially those developed by the 3N companies. In Lost Ark, you can purchase items that empower you, but Smilegate allows players to choose whether to opt into the scheme that lets them climb the ranks faster, or opt out, which means that they take a more leisurely pace without spending money. But I have discovered some information from the Steam forums from a developer called Rox, who worked for Amazon Games here. So in this thread about this article from the Korea Herald, they say that please keep in mind that we are working with Smilegate RPG to make sure the business model is more in line with Western standards and player expectations. So I expect there's going to be a little bit of this in the game, but it is nice to see that they are aware that perhaps over here in the West, for instance, we are more okay with the idea of like purchasable like mounts or cool looking items that you can buy, as opposed to things that like make your character stronger, which we do not like very much over here. Although it sounds like in South Korea, a lot of them are getting a little bit frustrated with that type of stuff too. I also saw on another thread here about westernization, some complaints. The goal is to ensure that in-game purchases feel completely optional and that players have paths to acquire items they're interested without having to spend money. There will be a few exceptions, of course. So, like I said, I imagine there's going to be like some things that anybody who seriously plays this game will probably want to buy. But considering that you're not paying a monthly subscription for Lost Ark, and you're not even paying to buy the game in the first place, it could turn out that the overall like purchase point for this game is actually very fair compared to other offerings in the market for what you're getting, and that's what I have my fingers crossed for. So back to the Korea Herald article, it also talks about how Lost Ark has had an influx of new players in Korea because rival companies made operational mistakes and disappointed paying users. So for example, MapleStory, which is huge in Korea, a lot of you guys have probably played it in some iteration yourself in the past, or even quite currently. It lost loyal players after it was accused of manipulating the ratio of random cash items. So that's like a kind of loot box concern that is probably, you know, quite contentious across like multiple gaming companies at the moment. I mean, some places have banned them outright, which is one of the reasons why, for instance, I don't think Lost Ark is available for sale in the Netherlands, because they have very stringent rules against loot box style mechanics. MapleStory users have been angered by the developer's policy and quit and migrated to Lost Ark. Lineage M has also had a firestorm of criticism from paying users after the game maker rolled back the character ability upgrade system, another scandal that brought fresh users to Lost Ark. It has also been regarded recently as the new best destination for those who want to play a popular PC game. So I guess in Korea there's something quite similar to how people are getting tired of World of Warcraft, and there's been quite a lot of scandals about Blizzard recently, and they're seeking out new experiences. So it's kind of interesting to see that this is also happening in Korea and it's benefiting Lost Ark, and that's one of the reasons why I said in a previous video why I think Lost Ark might do quite well by releasing kind of sometime soon over here. So the game is doing really well in Korea. It's also doing really well in Japan. According to this article, it rose to #1 in online game popularity in Online Gamer. Although this is a slightly older article from 2020 up here, but it seems like Japanese users are also really liking Lost Ark in Japan. It was 5th in the overall trend rankings for Twitter of September 23rd last year, and it looks like people were really into it. One Reddit thread I found that was quite interesting, which says here, the reason why LA is the most popular RPG game in Korea is complex. Kind of seemed to suggest that one of the reasons why it's really popular is, well, yes, as we talked about in this article, the fall of RPG games similar to Lost Ark in Korea, which we already discussed. I won't go over that again. But also another reason why this person thinks that Lost Ark is popular is it's user-friendly and it's communicated well to players. So this person's English is a little broken. Maybe they're Korean themselves and they're trying their best to like give us information over here, which I really, really appreciate. And it says here that the Lost Ark director communicates very well with their user base. So the director's name is Kum Kang-son. I need to learn some Korean, man, because I can't keep butchering these names. But basically, he's become famous among the player base, and he's often referred to as the shining director of the game. And people like to pray to pictures of him when they try to upgrade their gear in the game because it has a chance to fail. So it's kind of like, you know, you pray to RNGesus to get like, a successful upgrade. Basically, there was a famous event where a reporter interviewed him when the game had an awesome event, and the reporter asked, "This event gives too much benefit to users, what have you got left?" And he answered, "I have the users left." It's implying that it's kind of a bit like Final Fantasy XIV here with Naoki Yoshida, where it's really, really nice to see the director of the game kind of step up and directly talk to users and kind of value their input and act like he kind of really wants people to like their game and he cares about what they think about it. And yeah, this is like amazing for me to see. I think this is really important for online games. So this is all well and good and stuff, but Right now, there isn't a lot of information coming out for the Western release of Lost Ark. They have recently finished up their class series detailing the different subclasses for the gunner, but a lot of us are like, well, when is the beta coming out? Because things have been very quiet for a couple of weeks now. I found one post again by Rox, a developer for Amazon Games, in a thread talking about why they have been so quiet recently and people being frustrated, especially because New World, also being published by Amazon Games, has been getting a lot more kind of hype recently. And Rox says in this thread, "Hey, I definitely hear you. This has been raised so our teams are aware. You're completely in the right to be discontented, frustrated, and even upset by the quietness that has recently surrounded Lost Ark. I know my words here will ring empty until we can show instead of tell, but we have been hashing out a plan to provide consistent content and updates as we move ahead to prevent this in the future. It has certainly been a rocky start, and I don't expect this comment to even begin to patch things up, but I want to acknowledge this shortcoming fully. When we hit the ground running, please hold us to a high standard so we can keep improving." So look, one of the things that I want to say in this video, one of the things that I want to preach is some patience. A lot of people out there, like myself, were going a little bit crazy in the wait for Lost Ark, but I'm beginning to think that it's sent some of you completely off the deep end, the lack of information. I've heard some people recently, with a conspiracy theory, say something like, "I think Amazon bought Lost Ark deliberately so that they could tank its chances in the West so that New World would be the most successful MMO. They've deliberately made Lost Ark a failure." And it's like, my man, you gotta chill. Huff some of that copium a bit more because you're clearly running low on the energy in the tank, and just relax. It is not even September yet. So far, they have given us a release window of fall 2021 after years and years of many of us waiting for this game to come out, and that release window is almost upon us. They could easily announce next month some sort of beta and then have the game go live in October, and they would be within that release window. So what I want to say here is, I think it's a little bit early for us to start panicking about Amazon not handling the game correctly. Now, if we get to November and Amazon is still very tight-lipped about Lost Ark and they're not saying very much about it, in that situation, I want you to be generous and pass me some of the copium, because I am going to be in full-on crisis mode if that happens. But at the moment, I think it's maybe a little bit early for us to panic yet, and they're probably just a bit quiet at the moment because they're working really hard on the launch for the game coming out. At least that's what I like to think. So a little bit more patience, and I hope that we will be rewarded on this one. The game will be worth it. Regardless, this has been Sinow, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's given you some food for thought. I will see you all next time with more Lost Ark information. Take care. Goodbye.